Hello, hello, hello. It's Jon Binnie. Hello and welcome to my monthly review, my reflections on my life, my dream life, my business. And I'd like to share with you the journey that I've been on through June. So we're not quite at the end of June. I do have a vacation coming up. And so that is why I'm doing this early. So I'm going off to the land of the dragons, Wales. So really excited for that. Can't wait. We're going in a couple of days, so looking forward to that. So let me recap. So first of all, I have been making sure that my mission, I have my laptop right next to me here, my mission is first and foremost at the front of my business. And I'll talk a little bit about, this is a reminder, right? Because we're now over a year, we're a year and 1 month, so 13 months since I started my business, Heart Centered Wellness Limited. And I'm going to talk about my mission and as a reminder, and then I'll talk about my tenets, so my work-life balance with that as well. So my mission is to help thousands and in time millions of people navigate their journeys through their spiritual awakenings, to empower people to find their life purpose, deepen their daily practices, embody and put into practice their physical and metaphysical abilities to help this whole world's transformation from within. Now that's on the homepage on my website, and I feel that's a new thing I've added. I can't remember if it was May or June, but it's definitely a new thing for me. And then I also talk about, this is on the About section on my website, linked from my homepage, a tension with that, a natural tension, like all good tensions that are natural, with the mission of my like soul purpose and my business, is also, so my first tenet is my health, self-love, and self-care comes first every day over the demands of my business. The second is I fill my cup until my self-love and financial abundance is overflowing first, so that I and my business is able to help thousands of people. And then I also talk a bit about having clear, high vibration energy. And I also talk about the sustainability of working up to 4 days a week. And I can talk a bit about that as that's been making good progress. So these things are really important, right? It's easy in the third dimensional work that many companies still operate in to get this balance wrong and to just have a mission, to be the best something at or the best person at something. But then and often think of sales or the amount of money they've made. And the reality is that actually that can be a failure even in their own eyes if they don't get enough time with their loved ones, if their health is deteriorating, if they don't enjoy the work. Like, these are all really important balances. So this is why I have these tenets to help guide me and make these trade-offs, putting my self-love and my self-care first every day. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about June. So I'm just going to look back through my calendar because it's a great trigger for me. And I'll need to give weight to one experience in particular that I want to share. So first week of June, well, it looks pretty busy in my calendar. And I've been continue to do the YouTube live streams. That's been a conscious change for me, is to commit now to doing these YouTube live streams Mondays and Thursdays forever. The next thing is that I've been doing the heart-aligned business mentoring, or building your heart-aligned business mentoring service. And that's now available on my website, so you can just book me in for that. In a couple of days' time, I'll be recording a testimonial with my dear client, Chloe, who I took through and have helped support her incredible transformation. So I'm really excited to share more about that in the testimonial video. So I'll save a lot of it for that, but I'd like to share a bit about the journey of this as well. There's also been someone else I've been mentoring through June. So these two people I've been initially doing, my approach was to do it free of charge and to learn if I like the work and learn if my clients like the work. And both of my clients have been through the Higher Self Foundational, Higher Self Intermediate training. You've seen me do live streams with them before. And so I knew that they were ready and lightly hungry, because part of the intermediate training is we talk a little bit about what are the business aspects that you'd like to consider, because that's not mandatory for the training courses. The training courses are for people that are interested in, doing all this without a business and continuing to develop themselves and open up their own hearts and activate their own abilities, and others that want to do that and also offer a business not dissimilar to what I do, but in their own unique way. And I found it just incredibly rewarding. I created, some templates for the first was a survey to kind of capture a bit more about what the client wants to do with the mentoring, and some of the things they already have in place. And then there's also a session where we work together and create this big Uber spreadsheet, which it's really a tracker or a record, if you like, and it records each day the different things we've been doing over the 2 weeks of mentoring. And that's been so helpful, because in the first session with the client, I'd ask their spirit guides, okay, what's the mission of the person, and type in the mission and with the client and refine it. And it's a great place to start, knowing what it is you want to do with the rest of your business is so powerful. And if it's not your business, it can also be your life. And then working out the tenets, like, what do you really want out of your life? Do you want to be working a lot all the time, or do you want more of a balance? What are the things that are tensions with your business? And what are the blockages, and what are the fears, and all these things? And yeah, I had some really lovely feedback saying that, from those clients that it's some of my best abilities, the best work they'd ever seen me do. And perhaps it was those moments where in a subsequent session after doing the first face-to-face one, and then we go on and do some sort of past life healing often, or some energy healing to help unblock the person, help remove those fears, is the third session is me doing a remote session and working through the key points of the spreadsheet. And I'll do things like define, like propose a key service for them by talking with their guides and doing that real time and typing, and have it recorded on the screen at the same time. My clients really loved. So that was a really beautiful experience. Just proving that I don't edit videos. And so then the next part was with my first client, like wrapping up that first round of mentoring. And we have a catch up, as I mentioned, a couple of days about the testimonial. And for my second client, we're going to be continuing to do that. They've got a lot going on in their lives. In fact, both clients had a huge amount going on in their lives. So we'll be catching up with that after my vacation, which is lovely to do all that upfront heavy lift and introduce lots of concepts and practices and things to do. And it's, everything from suggestions about the branding of the website, the focus of it, the focus of their services, the simplification, and also a template I didn't mention. I'll talk a bit more about myself when I come on to the work-life balance. That was, a key part of it as well. So there's a lot to digest, and I leave that with my client and then give them time to start working through many of these actions in a way that feels right for them, and then to come back in and be able to check in and offer more support as it helps. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. That was definitely a highlight of June so far. I know some of it was in May as well. The 5D Ascension classes, so they moved from a kind of private Zoom activity to me realizing that really I enjoy the offering, teaching at very low or no cost at scale to people as well. If I can, afford to put in that effort with my energy and, financially I have the right balance, then it's something I'll definitely do. So it means that in my schedule, my weekly schedule, there's 4 hours of live streams, plus an hour of something like a 5D Ascension class, or this week, today actually, I have a quantum psychic practice session where I'm helping my students connect, or not helping, I am connecting my students with clients, and then we, in a safe space where we allow the practice, so you can each student can practice their own psychic, quantum energy healing, their different superpowers, and to help clients. And it's a great way of, we have three clients, so one each, so myself and two other practitioners. The previous one we did, there was 3 other practitioners. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll do those every few weeks, maybe every 6 weeks or so. I also really enjoy being part of the Earth Council. That was a lot of fun. Shout out to Natasha Rocha and all of the members. And then through the other couple of weeks in June, so I do feel it was quite a shift for me, starting to have a better work-life balance. And one thing I did in the week of the 9th of June is I went traveling. So I went to see some stone circles. I went to see Neolithic sites, did some camping, and that was just wonderful. I can't believe that's just 2 weeks ago. And it was a lot of fun. I was away for 3 nights, I think. And I was also on Linda G's show as well. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I really enjoy starting to shift more towards this this change in work-life balance, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So the other big thing that happened this year, maybe I should talk about the work-life balance first, because this other part will take me a bit of time, or I want to focus the right amount of energy on it. So the work-life balance is, first of all, realizing that it's not that they're not mutually exclusive, that actually one fuels the other. Because the way I was taught in our Western cultures is that you have the things you love in your life, your family, your loved ones, your pets, your home, and your hobbies, and that you have to earn a wage to be able to, a salary each month, to be able to pay to keep your loved ones in a home and to do all the nice things that you want to do with your family. And so this other thing that you do called work is really the thing that underpins and fuels, allows you to live a happy life. And there's so many things wrong with that construct, with that mental model. And I never really noticed that until recently. So now, and I must admit, I had a lot of epiphanies doing this mentoring for clients, is that I now have this weekly pattern I created where it's really a working schedule for me, and it has. If I start from Sunday, is no work. Monday it can be doing whatever I want up until my live stream at 4:30 my time in the afternoon. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the right balance of client sessions. So around 3 sessions a day, and then 3 to 4, depending on how you'd count them, and having a Wednesday morning podcast slot, and then lots of other things put in between. So answering client emails, making updates to my website, organizing, upcoming live streams and events, etc., going on people's channels, doing my administration, my own expenses, meeting with my accountant. These are all things that happen at a weekly, every 2 weeks or monthly pattern, but they're all in my weekly pattern. It's given some description to all those. And I must admit, it was quite a daunting experience ending, a week, the week cycle on a Sunday, and then not knowing what I would do on the Monday. Yesterday was Monday, and I chose to develop another week of my higher self advanced training. So, and I just have 3 weeks left, or 3 weeks of material to finish. Which feels really good. And I'm going to go back, so that's just a written material, and I'll go back and start doing a lot of the videos, and I'll keep cycling through them and then cycle through the other training courses, not every week. But it's a good time to do it. Fridays, I will also have off. I'm pretty sure that's what I've said to myself. Might do the odd Friday morning sometimes, but my family finish school. They all go to school or, university, and they're done by midday Friday. So really, I have Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday off, and then Monday's a flexible day. And I concentrate all my work on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's a pattern I love. It's also a pattern that I followed, or I created when I worked at Amazon. The last 2 years of working at Amazon as a senior software manager in AI as well. That was, I don't know why I'm doing that with my hands. It just felt good. I'm holding my calendar saying, it feels good. But going back to that mental model about, one feeding the other, is that what I realized that really the time outside of work is what fuels work. It's, and I call it on my little spreadsheet, it's the joy, rest, and receiving time. So it's all of that creates a high vibration, happy John. That means he can do this work and he enjoys doing it. And that feeds the vibration that goes in, the energy that goes into my work. And then my work rewards the rest of me and my family with, yes, increasing amounts of joy, and then also financially, so the cycle actually works. I must admit, before the rest of my life, largely those cycles have been broken. There's maybe 1 or 2 exceptions for a couple of years in the 26 years of my previous career in software, but yeah, I mentally got that wrong. Let me know in the comments if you have, views about this, or whether you agree or disagree. Is it an epiphany to you that it is your happiness and health that fuels your work? It is your total capacity for work and not the other way around. Work definitely doesn't make most people healthier. Okay, so yeah, and I also wanted to, that was the other thing I want to touch on. So just last week, I got to spend time with my amazing accountant, Joanna, and we chatted about the first year. So the first year of what my company has earned, and it was fascinating. There's lots of things I didn't expect. Now, if you watch, especially if you watch my walk and talk videos, you'll know a lot of this already. But some of the highlights for me, first of all, emotionally, very happy, feeling very abundant, feeling it in my solar plexus, feeling full, and that I have a business that's sustainable, both from a pure economic perspective, financial perspective, but also that I enjoy doing it, and that I can fuel that business because it's just a business of me. I'm the only employee. And then, so that was a big thing. Also, the abundance that I've received through the work was far more than I expected. I'd guess my expectations, because I never gave myself a financial target, on purpose. my guess is that something about perhaps twice as much as the company earned, about twice as much as I thought it would reasonably, especially given that I knew I was making conscious decisions not to just take on more and more work and earn the maximum amount of money. And that feels like it would have been a falsehood. If I'd kept going at the same rate of doing 4 sessions, 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 5 sessions in a day, I was exhausted. And doing that for 4 months, November, December, January, February, March, 5 months. And then some of it started to tail off into April. It's like, wow, that was too much for me. So I hope you noticed that, John, if you're watching this back, and to you as well, if you notice a difference in my vibration, and especially over the last 2-3 months, it's been a real shift. Okay. The other things that were really interesting were in the end of year review were things like things I didn't expect. So I did not expect naively that when you start a company that you need to give the company an operating kind of margin, almost like we would call it in personal terms. We would, if it was we would call it like savings. We would say, let's keep, for a rainy day, let's keep a certain amount of money in our account. Now, I had to earn that money in my business, and it just stays in the business. I'm like, oh, that's a surprise to me. So it is thousands of pounds, and it's, I don't know if you ever hear this about personal finances, but often advisors would say keep 1 to 3 months of your income in your savings. This is in case you lose your job or something unexpected happens, and it's not dissimilar to what was recommended for my business. Maybe 2 to 3 months. So you're thinking, whoa, that's a lot of money, and it's quite funny because it means that the second year I'm already off to a better start, right? Because I don't have to just put that money in; it's already there, just sat in the business for the rainy days. And it's true, I have dipped into it a couple of times, which is great. It also allows me to pay myself. If, let's say, I had no sales in a month, I'd be able to still pay myself a salary, but I would just be getting more nervous that I didn't have a lot left in the bank. So yeah, that's been an eye-opener. The different sorts of taxes. So in the UK, we have something called corporation tax. We have, if your company earns enough, also VAT to pay. The value-added tax, around 20%. And then there's, your personal tax of whatever you take from the business. So that was really fascinating to experience, to feel into, and to learn about. And I also bought a lot of stuff, right? I bought a second laptop so that I could do it more easily when I'm traveling, do my work more easily when traveling, a mixing desk, some microphones. There was thousands spent on that stuff. And what really filled me with a lot of joy was being able to do that, because it's so important to me that whenever I do my client sessions, that they have the very best. I feel guilty if I can't offer the same sound quality, for example, that I offer in my studio while I'm in my camper van. So these were big things for me they're important to me to invest in. And yes, slightly the geeky side as well loves to, obsess about having a good setup and in different places. So I just have 3 of these setups, one in my studio, one in my office upstairs, and then one in my camper van. And they vary a little bit. The office and the studio are meant to be identical, but they're not, because I couldn't get a couple of the components, which drives me nuts. The obsessive part of me. Just let it go, John, let it go. So that was lovely. And we also spoke a bit about, some of a lot of the costs, a lot of things I tried and then stopped. One example would be, £150 a month on John AI Chat GPT. That was super expensive. I've now, I only did that for a month, but it was a lot of money. I also managed to pay in advance. I think I paid for 3 years or so. I'd need to double check. Bless me. I would need to check, but something like 3 years in advance, I paid for my website hosting with Wix, and that dropped the price dramatically. So I won't be paying that for the next couple of years, which is great, but it's like huge. I can't remember what it is. I think it's lower than £20 a month, which is incredible. It does everything for me. But I do also pay £80 a month for the app. So still a lot of costs. My costs, I'm guessing, will settle around something like £7,000 to £10,000 a year. That would also include some of the bank fees. So I say bank fees, they're exchange rates. So I don't charge my clients for the fact that they use Great British pounds, that I use Great British pounds when they purchase. So if someone pays with a different currency, I pay that myself. So these are all costs to keep in mind. These are all really interesting, really helpful. And my guess is that after what my business brings in a year, I personally am able to take at least 2/3 of that. It's maybe as high as something like 80% of that as a salary, as money for me and my family. And then I pay tax on whatever I receive. But these are important concepts to get your head around. I did not really have an idea about how that would work. And also some of those costs, I just expected I'd have to pay myself. Personally, that would include like my super fast home internet connection. No, my business can pay for that because it is. You see me like I'm doing right now. I'm always using it for business. So these things are really helpful to see. When you're posting so many videos a day, you need to invest in the right things. Plus, I got a really amazing deal for just an extra 50 pence to upgrade it to a 2 gigabit per second internet connection, which really makes it interesting for me. Okay, and so that was just fantastic. And the year end just really felt, I had a lovely chat with my wife afterwards, and we reflected on the success of the business. And it's because of you guys. It's because of all your bookings, your love and support. So thank you so much. And thank you for the cards that you sent and the congratulations, just greatly appreciated. All your kind, loving comments. So thank you. And if you're watching this and you're thinking about following your dreams, and some of these things are important. And I know that especially in different countries, it's not helpful for me to tell you my earnings and the numbers, because the cost of living is so different. We pay higher tax in the UK than other countries, but we don't pay for healthcare. So the other really interesting aspect is that the salaries, what I was quite shocked at is that depending on, how many days I worked or should I say how much time I invested in energy into my happiness and health, that I could earn more money, the not dissimilar salaries that I was earning previously in my last job are possible. And because a lot of our reactions before we start our own business are, I can't afford to do that. And my strange feeling is, and me, I'm not in this just for the money, right? The money's there to just help have an abundant, happy, healthy life, as my tenet says, to fill my cup first. It's more my mission is to help thousands and in time millions of people. So with that balance in mind, just looking at one side of it isn't as helpful. And I had that chat with my accountant as well. I was saying, one of the things that I need to watch out for is that if I earn too much, in fact, if I tried to match the salary that I earned at my previous job, likely it would take me into a tax threshold that I, by law, as a UK company, I would have to charge 20% extra to my clients. I'm like, that's a lot. They already pay me a lot. So, there was really interesting, aspects of that. So, what else happened in the last few days? Now just been preparing. So I've been busy preparing for my holiday. So really excited for that. And I must admit, having that year end and even just doing this video just now and reflecting on the last year have been really incredible. And it helps fill me with the feeling of abundance for my holiday, because it's the worst thing I can do is allow myself to slip into the bad habit of feeling of lack, especially, I've earned this holiday. In fact, I model into my perfect working week holidays. I think vacations, right? We call them holidays in the UK. But something like one month of holidays, or 4 to 6 weeks of holidays in a year, depending on, and that would be holiday from work where I'm not earning as much. So it might even include, a week or two going away, traveling, maybe going to events, etc. So these things were important for me to factor in as well. It's been an incredible June. It's been very hot here. We had a spectacular thunderstorm. And energetically, things also going on in my life. I would say I feel happier and healthier. I would say one thing I've noticed is some of my shadows turning up and trying to assert themselves a bit more. Fear of, I've spoken of it a few times, going into woods and, for long walks, especially with Patch. I'm fine by myself, but I find it difficult to take him in. I was just running in the woods this morning doing a video. So those are things I find quite difficult. So, and one of my next plans is to go in the woods without Patch, really test that shadow and say, is it really this? What is the fear that I really have here? What's the thing that's really hurting me? Also interesting, about boundaries and some fears around those, both physical and metaphysical, and energetic. So, June has been fantastic, and so thank you so much. And then July, I'll be off for the first 2 weeks, so I'll be back doing my live stream on the 14th. You'll still see lots of videos from me because I just love creating videos. And my guides were recommending I, get lots of rest, but also explore different ways of making videos. So I'll make sure I take out my cameras, like my waterproof camera. I have a GoPro, like an old GoPro, my new fancy night vision camera, like all the others. They're great, these different cameras of having the flexibility to go outside in the rain or go out, you do it in water. We're going to be doing some adventure stuff as well. So looking forward to that on holiday. So just share as it feels right. But thank you so much for an incredible June. Let me know in the comments what you enjoy hearing about or what questions you have for my next monthly reflections. I saw Chloe do one of her first reflections as well, which was fantastic. And this is so much easier and so much nicer and much more fun than the monthly business reviews I used to do at Amazon. But it's one thing I really learned was that the monthly cadence I really enjoy, and it's a beautiful way of looking at your progress on your mission, and continuing to make sure that you remember why you're doing all this, and show gratitude and reflect on the big things that you've experienced and that you've learned. Thank you so much. If you enjoy my work, please do visit my website, jonbinnie.com. Most of my, or should I say, all of my content goes onto YouTube. Some of it appears on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. Yeah, please do like, subscribe, share. If you're interested in the mentoring, take a look at my website or drop me an email if you're interested in it. And that's me. Thank you so much. Take care. Sending love.